Welcome back, Broncos, to episode 6 of To Be a Bronco. Today I have Miss Griffey with me, or Griffey because she prefers to be called like that.
Facts.
So, how's your day been so far?
It's been energized. It's great. Yeah. Getting stuff done first thing in the morning. It's good.
First question. What was your journey like from childhood to becoming a teacher here at Banning High?
It was interesting and a little arduous, but it was pretty cool. I was introduced to theater when I was 4 years old, and so at Isomata, which is Idlewild School of Performing Arts, that was my first introduction, and it was because my auntie wasn't getting paid enough, so they paid her in tuition for myself and my sister. I know, right? Like, what you do? But she was a pastry chef up in Idlewild.
Oh, really?
So, yeah. And she owned a place called Pastries by Kathy. Her name was Kathy.
That sounds like a nice place, too.
It really was. It really was. I start there only because she was instrumental in things like I would go up and I'd work in her pastry shop to pay for like choir dresses and theater trips and things like that, right? This is the short version of it.
Okay.
When I was in high school, my theater teacher went on maternity leave, and because I had been doing theater so long and kind of knew what I was doing, this is my senior year in high school. I was the first student at that high school to ever direct a full-length show. All right. And so they looked, I was really well known in the performing arts like aspect, but every student knew me because I was in every show, right?
Okay.
Like, this is like, it was one of those things, okay? I was on the student board for both choir and theater. I was vice president of both because low-key, vice presidents do more than presidents, especially in like ASBC. And I was like, you be the figurehead. I'll do the work.
Okay.
It's fine. So when she went on maternity leave, they hired, and back in those days, they hired classroom-specific teachers. So if you were a math teacher and you went out, they hired a math teacher to sub for you, right?
Yeah.
Not a lot of theater teachers back in the way back. We won't talk about how long that was, but we won't talk about it. Anyway, so they hired this math teacher, and he knew nothing about theater. So they rearranged my entire schedule, and I taught all of the theater classes my senior year instead.
What?
Right, I know. It was crazy. I directed the shows. I did all this. I was it. I was the theater teacher, and that was fine. Except that, I mean, it was a great experience. I'm not going to lie. It was great. I had a good time. We had fun and all those things. But I also said, because of that experience, I would never be a teacher.
Oh, really?
Yes. But there's a huge difference between directing your peers and directing, students or adults or whatever. Because, I have done both. And even working with other adults is very different than directing, if they're older or whatever, it's very different than directing high school peers, right? So but I was like, no way, Susie, this is not happening, right?
Yeah.
So my journey then took me to Kansas, where I lived for years. I will go back a little bit. I did study dance. Dance was my first major, and I studied that all through growing up and whatever. But then at MSJC, that was my major until I had a huge injury. And then but that's all right. I got a full ride to Wichita State, so I went to Wichita State University, continued my education in performance. I toured all over the Midwest, being a HIV and AIDS educator in a performance, because it was the early 90s. Okay. Nobody knew about it. Nobody, and these are the times where people were burning down people's houses.
Oh, geez.
Right? Because they were like, it's the plague. And they just did not have information that, fortunately, people have now. But so if you can imagine touring around the Midwest, educating not just high school students, but adults.
Oh, gosh.
It was crazy. I mean, it's the Midwest, right?
Yeah.
The Bible Belt. There's no more belts in the Bible than this Bible Belt, let me tell you. I was doing that. It was great. I had my son who was a toddler at the time, and um, I realized as a performer, I wouldn't see him grow up.
Oh,
Okay, and I had a full ride performance scholarship, but I was like, I don't know, I'm not going to see him, right?
yeah.
So at the same time, I'd put myself through college in the costume shop,
Okay.
and the college was trying to get their technical pathway, I guess, but their technical thing accredited. So they
Okay.
came to me and they're like, low key, would you consider becoming a technician? And I thought, I don't think I'm that good at art. I don't think I'm that good at whatever. They're like, are you kidding? Like I won for one of my set designs second in the United States in a set design competition thing.
Really? Oh, dang.
Right. And the woman who was the adjudicator was the gal who did the costuming for Fiddler on the Roof, the original Fiddler on the Roof on Broadway.
Oh, shoot.
Right. So I was like, well, maybe there's something to this that,
Yeah.
it's a thing. I loved to direct. I wanted to direct more than anything. And so I went, okay, if I do tech, I learn everything, right? And a good
yeah.
director should know everything. So I switched gears and I pursued a degree in technical theater. I know this is a long story. I'm sorry.
It's fine.
So after that, though, my son's father got stationed in England. And so
Oh,
we
dang.
packed up from Kansas and moved to England. And I applied to go to Cambridge and was accepted. The tuition is outrageous at the time.
Really?
And this is many years ago, but the tuition was like 40 grand a semester
Oh,
because I
geez.
was an international student,
Oh, dang.
right? So I was like, maybe not.
Yeah.
So I took classes around that were local, that were from on the base and things like that. This is the Air Force.
Yeah.
That were like art history, but we got to go to London and look at the actual artwork and write about
yeah.
it. I was like, oh, it's so good. So my education, even though it was not in my actual field at the time, was phenomenal. I was like, this is the best,
Yeah.
They offered classes like Arthurian legends and lore,
Oh, what? That just sounds awesome.
right? Like a whole semester about King Arthur. Yes, please. Why not? Right?
Yeah.
So anyway, so I did that, and then I came back to the States. 4 years, a little over 4 years later,
Okay.
and I got my first job in like actual job in a school. At the time over there, I had opened up a multi-million-dollar youth center, and I was doing art and theater and things over there with students.
Dang.
It was pretty fun. I'm not gonna lie. We put on shows with USAFE, and USAFE is United States Air Force Europe. So all of Europe would come in, and they'd send students, and we'd do shows with these kids who are from everywhere. It was really good times. So I came back here, and I got my first job at a non-public school in
Okay.
Calamasa.
Oh, really?
Right. What's a non-public school, right? It's not a private school. This is where districts have removed students from their district
Oh.
for a myriad of reasons.
Yeah.
And they need help. They need an education. They need people, right?
Yeah.
So I taught there for a few years. It was really a beautiful experience.
Okay.
I learned that everybody has a beautiful heart. Not everybody can access it every day, right?
Yeah.
And so you celebrate the days that people do, and you help them work on the days that is hard to find.
Yeah.
And so I know that people who are around me are like, "You're a battle axe," and I'm like, "Yeah, I have a soft middle, though." They're like, "You do," So and that's kind of where I learned that. It was really a beautiful thing. So I left there because I was going to have my daughter, and it was a
Oh, okay.
very hostile. No, hostile is the wrong word.
Okay.
Intense environment,
Yeah.
right? When they did not access those hearts, it got real fast. Okay, so, but that's all right. You know, it just wasn't a place for me in that kind of
Yeah.
position to like try and make that happen. So,
Yeah.
so I left, and then I stayed home for a year, homeschooled my son, and got the opportunity to teach full time at Notre Dame High School in Riverside. And I
dang.
stayed there for like 11 years. So that was it. That was how it happened. It was like 1 year at home, and I was like, I got to go back to work.
Yeah.
I got to make time. But the opportunity arose, so it was beautiful, really beautiful moment.
And then how did you get here to Banning?
So, so Notre Dame, and then I left Notre Dame to get my master's degree. I took 2 years off.
Okay.
And I should note that the entire time this is all happening, I worked professionally in the field as a
Oh,
costumer,
geez.
as a director, as an actor.
Yeah.
I did a lot of individual acting lessons with
Okay.
people who were had auditions in LA and things like that. I did a lot of that, like one-on-one
Yeah.
coaching. And I just everything, sets and things like that, and it's just
Yeah.
all over, right? And while I was in England, I did the same thing. So I never stopped working professionally. It was
Yeah.
important to me to have that.
Okay.
So I left Notre Dame, and I pursued my master's degree. So just under 2 years, I did that.
Okay.
Then I went to work at West Valley High School. And then I left. It was a mutual decision. They weren't my vibe, right?
Yeah.
They weren't my vibe. I incidentally grew up in Hemet, so I thought going back to Hemet and giving something, just not my vibe, and that's okay. That's right.
Yeah.
Hemet's got a vibe. I get out and get gas, and they're like, "Are you lost?" A little bit. That's okay. So anyway, so I left there, and I thought maybe teaching isn't for me.
Oh, dang.
Maybe it isn't. Maybe it isn't my thing. So I worked still working professionally, but I went to Mount Cenesino in Menifee, and they were opening a makerspace, and I said, I'm your gal. I will run this makerspace. There isn't anything I don't know or don't want to learn. I love learning new things. So emerging technology is one of my favorite things to do. So
Okay.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Like, what? I'm such a nerd. I'm such a nerd, Johnny. You don't know. So I was like, yes, please. They didn't have anybody who knew the equipment, who knew what to do, who knew anything about it. So I was like, I got you. I got you,
Yeah.
friend. So there I had a laser engraver. I had 14 3D printers. We had just a make space where they just had like parts to do things with, So we did
what?
small electronics and motors and things like that.
Yeah.
So it was really good. Circuitry and all that,
Yeah.
all that nerdy stuff, right? But of course it was me, so it wasn't STEM, it was STEAM for sure, right? You got to get that art in there. And so I did that. And while I was there, the theater department approached me and they're like, we heard you do stuff. And I'm like, I do stuff. And they're like, will you stage manage for us? And I was like, sure. So I had this other thing I stage manage. Now, it went in the college thing, you can't be classified and certificated at the same time.
Oh, okay.
So I couldn't teach, right? So they gave me a contract to do this. And then they were like, no, you do costuming too, right? I'm like, yes. Like, could you do it? I'm like, yes. So it ended up, I worked in the makerspace for 2 years, I guess. And then they were like, so we'd like to offer you an adjunct faculty position. Will you do that?
Oh, geez.
So I left the makerspace because I couldn't do both. And I taught stage management. I have to think of all of them. There were 4. Stage management, stagecraft, the costuming, and makeup. They were all separate classes.
Oh,
the only
dang.
thing I didn't teach in their tech was lighting. So that was it. Okay. I taught it in the stagecraft class because it's an overview class, but I did not actually teach that. So, because I have idle hands are the devil's playground, right?
Yeah.
And teaching at a college, you only teach a few hours a day, and whatever. I was like, a job came up at Serrano High School, and it was a part-time, which is crazy, part-time technical director position up at Serrano High School, up in Phelan. If you don't know where that is, it's Snowline. It's way up. If you're going to Vegas, just get up, make a left before you get there. So it's over there. Anyway, and so I was at Serrano, and then I was commuting 5 hours a day. I would I'd start at MSJC. I live in Redlands, so I'd start at MSJC. I'd go up to Serrano. I'd drive back from Serrano and then out to Menifee and then come back to my home.
Oh, dang.
It was a lot. It was a total
Yeah.
of 5 hours in the car, not counting the teaching hours.
Oh, my
right?
gosh.
It was a lot. And so this job came open. And I thought, oh my gosh, it's a brand new facility. This is really cool. So I interviewed, and then it still sat dormant for a year. And I was like, okay, well, I guess they hired somebody else. They didn't. And then a year later, I was reached out from HR, and they said, hey, are you still interested? And to be fair, at the time, that was Mr. Davis, our superintendent.
Oh, dang.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, I am still interested, actually, because I don't like putting all these miles on my car. But also the opportunity to come here and do this was exciting. So I interviewed again, and at that time, I had 3 job offers. I had a
dang.
technical director at MSJC to be there.
Yeah.
Full time. That was
dang.
Yeah. So that would be at the Menifee campus, and then Serrano High School I'd grown the program so much they made it a full time job.
Oh, what?
Right, and so they offered me that as a full time job and here, and I really, really loved it when I met everyone here.
Really?
Yes, yeah. The people from the district office and everybody, and it was just so beautiful. And the facility was beautiful, and no one here we didn't have a tech program here. It never existed. And so the opportunity to create that, to bring that to life in a
Yeah.
place, that was it. So I want a home. This is my home. So, yeah. So that's how I ended up here in Banning.
Okay. It was quite the story, too. You've been everywhere.
Yeah. I'm lucky, though. I'm lucky to have been able to, perform throughout the country, perform in Europe. You do all those things, and then direct in all those places and do tech.
Yeah.
It's very different. People have very set views about what Americans sound like if you're in Europe, and
Yeah.
everybody is from the South. It's very funny to me. They're like, I'm playing an American, and this is what they all sound like. I'm like, no, we don't.
Yeah.
It's okay, we don't. But I went to the Midwest, and they were like, you're from California? Is it like it is on TV? And I'm like, no, that's TV.
Oh, my gosh.
You know what? At the time, like, Beverly Hills 90210 was big, and they were like, is it like
Oh,
that?
my gosh.
Like, no.
Yeah.
No, it's definitely not like that. That's TV. Star Trek isn't real either. Yeah. So, but it's interesting, and it's wonderful to be able to go places and learn other cultures, bring it back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How have you say the kids have been since you started teaching here, too?
Oh, amazing. So amazing. We started, I came here 2.5 years ago, and I had 8 students. I actually had none, and they were like, you probably aren't going to teach the first year. And I was like, okay. And they're like, because we don't have students. And then they gave me 8 students, and I was like, okay, we have eight students who know nothing about tech. And in the 2.5 years, we have more than 40 students who are in the classes, and then we have about 30 who participate after school in tech as well.
Oh, dang.
Yeah, it's a fast growth, and I love it. So people rise to where you set the bar. They rise
Yeah.
it, they hit it, and they rise above it. And so this takes a lot of work ethic, and you can't sit around or
Yeah.
assist gravity. It's got to be a thing, right? But it's so fulfilling, I think, to do it, and that's what I get from the students.
Yeah. Do you see any differences from the kids here and other schools you've been at?
Mostly, I see high school students as young adults, and you know that.
Yeah.
I like you're responsible people, and that they need to be seen. Everybody needs to be seen. They need, so if you come in and you really like to paint, I'm gonna help you paint. Like, I'm gonna give you opportunities to do that. If you want to do construction, give you opportunities to do that. The difference is that the person, the environment you create for them, right? For any people, right?
Yeah.
It's the way for any people. If you create an environment where people feel safe, where they feel like they can talk to you, where they feel like they can go, I'm having a bad day, I need to sit down. I might razz you a little bit, but I respect that, and everybody appreciates that across the board. Everyone here is so hungry. I think this is one of the is hungry to be successful.
Okay, yeah.
And I love that, because giving somebody the opportunity for that, you don't know how many times students come to me and they're like, I don't do math, I'm terrible at math. I'm like, no, you're not. You do physics and you do geometry in this class, like, all the time. Like, look at what you do. Like, it's crazy. And I think that's the biggest part, building up confidence. But students here have it. They want it. They're hungry, and it's
Yeah.
good. Yeah.
I think Prick said that they feel like more responsible than other kids at other schools he's been to. Mm-hmm. Which is one thing I'm hearing from a lot of other people too.
Really?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one thing I'm realizing is what it is to be a Bronco nowadays, at least.
Yes. Well, it's facts, and being able to, give you guys the access to keys to this $32 million building, and
Yeah.
I know that no one in our hemisphere, in our world over here,
Yeah.
is going to go do something, vandalize it or anything. That's not going to happen, right?
Yeah.
These are not the boys' bathrooms. Okay, right? But the students here understand that, and to have that, they respect the responsibility. They respect the idea that they can be in charge.
Yeah.
The housemaids and ushers, they're in charge out there. And to be able to get that respect from other people is really good. And it is being a Bronco. Being a Bronco is different, because you really have the opportunity to be an adult before you have to adult,
Yeah,
and that's a beautiful thing. It's really good.
it is. The CTE classes are definitely the best parts of the school so far. Besides the teachers also being really amazing too.
I don't disagree with you. I'm always a proponent of CTE because it's real, it's tangible. It means something
Yeah.
after you leave. Not that, I don't know. There are other subjects that have a little less meaning, but to me, they have all the meaning because they go into particularly theater. We have to
yeah.
study history. You have to have English skills. But we can build those things if we have the opportunity, right? You don't have to come in with, being a 10 out of 10, but we'll get you there.
Yeah.
You'll get there. How many times you do research for a show or something, right? You do. So anyway, yeah.
I just read that and now I'm completely lost.
Me every day. I can loan you some coffee. It's
Yes,
yes,
Mondays.
100%.
Okay. Have you ever had a student that really stuck to you in your memory?
Yes, I have. Well, so many, so many. So one of the things that I say to the students is, once you're mine, you're always mine. So I am so fortunate that I get to go to weddings and baby showers and
Right.
things. Oh, 100%. Yeah. Throughout the years. I mean, you have to understand that one of my former students just turned 40. So, when you put that in perspective,
Yeah.
they're adults, and then obviously not, like, they're coming through, so those students are, you know, amazing. And yeah, so they're lifelong, though. When you have people whose lives that you are involved in and that you see their growth and things like that, is
Yeah.
such a gift that that I do get invited to these things. I
Yeah.
do go to baby showers, and my daughter, when she was younger, was the flower girl in like 2, 3 weddings. I know
What?
at least 2 because they
Dang.
were sisters, but then yeah, because they were just like Hannah, you know. And so she was the flower girl at their weddings, and I've just been really really fortunate that so many. So to narrow it down is like, who's your favorite child? Well, you
Yeah.
know, that's not fair, you know. So, yeah.
Do you have certain memories though that you remember of them?
Yes, they're funny, and like the funny memories are my favorite. Where like something truly catastrophic or weird happened, and the students were like, so one of I was doing Adam's Family, okay,
Okay.
and we didn't have a fly rail at that school like we do here, where it's you know, a push button, like
Yeah.
automated, right? So it's operated by, you know, it's pulleys, right? So you're physically pulling them up. Well, and then you have to put a brake on them. So I was on
Okay.
stage, and somebody didn't put the brake on one of the battens,
Yeah.
and so it came crashing down. And
Oh, wow.
the students shouted really loud, "Griffey!" And I was like, down. I didn't even think. I just like dropped to the floor, right?
Yeah.
Because I knew the sound of that, right? One of the reasons why I don't go by Ms. Griffey or something about, because that half a second, I would have had 6,000 pounds on my head.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I fell to the ground. The students, there were 2 of them, brothers, and they, with bare hands, grabbed that rope and slowed it down with their bare hands. Like they just like hung on it, tried to slow it down, but it hit the set, and it hit the set so hard that it broke parts of it, right? And I was
Yeah.
like if this is the mic, I was like right here, like I barely
Oh my
missed it,
gosh.
right? And the younger of those 2 brothers ended up marrying my daughter.
What?
So if you want to know about students who stick with me, yeah, and one
You
of
gotta
my
have a priority there.
right,
Yeah.
right. And my son married. They were in the same class, and married another one of my students. They were. I taught at that school. They were both my students, but yeah, so they got married too. So there are a couple of students
Yeah.
who are closer than other, but yes.
All right. Well, what's one thing about tech theater that people don't realize?
That it is collaborative, that in a way that is unlike anything else. So the person who sweeps the stage as just as important as people who design and build the sets or the stage manager, because at that level, if the stage is not swept clean, or there's like staples or screws or something on stage,
Yeah.
it's such a hazard. Someone can break their ankle. Someone can slip off the edge, you
Yeah.
know, and do catastrophic damage that is permanent. You know, it's permanent.
Yeah.
So the idea that when I say, hey, can you go sweep the stage, and people are not, they're lackadaisical about it, it's rare actually, because I think most people understand how important that is. So it's everything. Tech theater is everything but the actors speaking, because you do need actors for bodies to put costumes and shoes on and all of that, and makeup and hair. But the way they present the character, that's not us. We do absolutely everything else. And I think people don't understand that, from ticket
Yeah.
sales to running the box office to running the house to, you know, all the things that you know, like audio, video, those things.
Yeah.
And also they don't know that we need things like, we have 2 3D printers that make props, that, you know,
Yeah.
do things. So emerging technology is huge, and it's just as important as sweeping the stage.
Yeah.
So there's really a place for everybody in tech. Really a place.
I think the most average consumers don't realize all the work that goes behind stuff like shows. They just pay attention to what's being shown to them.
Exactly. So I put it in this perspective. When you go see a movie, you see a running list of actors,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
And it's like that long. And then you see hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of names. You've gotten up, you're in your parking lot, it's still reeling hundreds and hundreds of
Yeah.
names. That's all the people that it takes to to do a movie. Same thing with tech. So we generally have 2 to 3 times as many tech as you see on stage. So mathematically, work that out.
Yeah.
We have one number in the musical that takes every tech person to be able to hand props and change clothes in the middle of songs.
Oh,
the
what?
entire cast, yes. And so they have to run off, grab their person, take their things, go back on stage, go back to their person, change their costume, come back on stage.
Oh, my God.
It's huge, right?
Yeah.
And all the audience sees though is the magic of the change, right?
The illusion.
The illusion. It just
Yeah.
happened, right? Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Well, now we're on to some fun questions.
Ooh, okay, I'm ready.
Oh, what's the most chaotic thing that's ever happened on a show?
Fires, and I've mentioned that in my class. But for me, I got set on fire by a pyrotechnic person who just wasn't on his game that night, which is so terrible. But they weren't, and so. The pyrotechnics are supposed to go off behind me as I run across the table.
Yeah.
Instead, they went off coming towards me.
Oh.
And so when the flash pot hit my costume, and you're running, so you're not like registering,
Yeah.
right? That there's the fire's in front of you. All right, so it was like flash pot, flash pot, flash pot. Anyway, it went up underneath me, set all my skirts on fire, burned me. It was the whole thing. It was a whole
Yeah.
thing. But that was the end of Act 1. So I came back on in Act 2 smelling like smoke with burnt costumes. And in the actual play, I came on in a wheelbarrow smoking a cigar. That's what I was
What?
supposed to do, right? So it just kind of lent itself that I'm like, I'd just been set on fire and I'm smoking a cigar.
Yeah.
The irony was very funny. Like, that was the thing, right? I'm like, this tracks. And the audience, though, didn't know that it wasn't supposed to
yeah.
happen. So they were applauding me on fire. They thought it was great. I, at the time, was grabbing the water from the table because they
Yeah.
were all drinking mead, but it was water, dousing myself out. And the audience was like, oh, this is the best thing ever. I'm like, it's not the best thing ever, people.
Yeah.
I'm on fire, right?
They're like, I can't believe they could do this.
Right. And then, but I never broke character. I just did my thing and then came back on and they all applauded again because they thought,
Yeah.
this is amazing. Yeah, this theater's really stepped it up by pyrotechnics.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, whatever. Anyway, it was good. Good and chaotic, great memory. I did have words that I don't regret, but probably weren't very professional, said to the pyrotechnic
yeah.
guy. When I left stage, I was just like, and this. Yeah. So it was not my best moment speaking to him. But also, yeah, he got the point. Never happened again.
Dang.
4 more shows. Did not happen again.
It seems like throughout the entire entertainment industry, if something disastrous happens like that,
Yeah.
you still seize the moment.
Yeah, you have to, you have to. So, it's about the audience. It's not about you.
Yeah.
So give them the best show you can, regardless of what's happening, right?
It reminds me of, was his name Bobby on the Universal trip we went to?
Yes.
He told us that if this set gets set on fire,
Mm-hmm.
they will send someone to go record it
Yes.
before they actually get anyone there to take it out.
Yeah, because yes, and also that's the experience of the audience for live theater. You only see it one time, right?
Yeah.
You just get it one time, so the experience has to be the best you can make it in that moment. It's ethereal, it's gone, never
Yeah.
happens again. But also that's the best part I think about live theater is that you could go see the quote same show 20 times, and every time it'll be different.
Yeah.
And that's the cool thing. You go see a movie, you fall in love with the movie, you watch it 100 times, and you can do all the dialogue. Not the same thing with live theater.
Yeah.
yeah.
I think that theater gives more of creativity to humans making this stuff happen as other people are watching it live compared to a movie, which is still the same amount of creativity. The only difference is movies can allow you to go to like space and stuff. And down here on a theater stage, you can still create that same illusion, but it takes more creativity.
Yeah, it's called the suspension of disbelief.
Yeah.
Right? We go off stage and we close the curtain and we come back on and time has changed.
Yeah.
Seasons have changed. We're just like, that tracks. That's good. Where in a movie you get to see like some cinematic awesomeness of the seasons changing or whatever, and then they come back out of the farmhouse.
Yeah.
No, we just accept it. We're like, that's right. If you sit there with the steering wheel, you are in a car or a bus or on a train or flying an airplane.
Yeah.
Whatever we tell you, you're going to believe, right? But the other difference is that I don't know that it takes more creativity. It takes a different kind of creativity, but live theater is a symbiotic relationship, right? If you're on stage and you are just telling all the jokes and the audience is like, the
Yeah.
actor feels it, right? They feel it. But also, if you are doing the jokes, and the actor and the audience is just uproariously laughing, you have to wait for them to stop so you
Yeah.
can continue, right? So it's live. It's in the moment, but it also is symbiotic between the audience and the actor. So it's a whole beautiful event that happens with the people around you as well. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like if the person next to you is laughing, you're probably gonna laugh too.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, right? And the person next to you is not laughing. If you go, "Baha!" You're like, "Oh, sorry,
Yeah.
so sorry, whoops." You know, it's a thing.
And one thing that tech theater has to do too is they have to create the illusion not just for the audience, but for the actors too.
Yes. Yeah.
That's something the movies don't pay attention to. They just pay attention to whoever's watching the screen.
Yes, a lot of actors don't feel like they're in character until they get their costume and their hair and all of those
Yeah.
things. But creating that environment for the actor, I mean, there are people whose jobs it is just to scout locations in movies, right? Just go
Yeah.
and that's the set designer in a theater, right? Well, they have them also in movies. Don't get me wrong, but you know they have this one opportunity to get you immersed in this environment for 2 minutes, and then we're
Yeah.
gonna immerse you in a different environment in 2 minutes, and then we're gonna take it all off stage. It's gonna be a different, right? So it's a lot
Yeah.
of that. I am so sorry. That's my phone, not actually a random dog.
Oh, I thought that was the random bang in the building.
Isn't that funny? No, I have it set to the dog bark. So if I am in a live space or something like that, I
Yeah.
can just look like hatefully at somebody else, like, "Oh, you brought a dog in here."
Yeah.
Oh, and then like quietly like turn my phone off. So I apologize. We're gonna hear the dog bark for a minute.
I don't think the mics can hear it.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Just me.
These are
You.
the phantom power ones too, so they focus more in.
Perfect.
All right, second fun question. Mm-hmm. What's the funniest or weirdest thing you've heard backstage?
I will not divulge that because we have a saying: what happens on the headsets stays on the headsets. Yeah, I can even give you a sticker about that. We have them and we pass them out to everybody. One of the reasons is in my office, I can listen to everything that's on the headsets, right?
Yeah.
And so I sometimes I'm like, yo, like serious, for serious. Hey guys, I can hear you. And they're like, ooh, sorry. And I'm like, it's all right. You know, rule number 2, what happens on the headset stays on the headset. So yeah, there's just, it's so many things. So, and mostly inappropriate. So
That
you
makes
know,
sense.
right? It makes sense,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. Because if something doesn't go right, people's filters, like they
Especially
lose,
high schoolers.
Yes, they lose their filters. I'm gonna grant you that it's pretty much across the board. Like honestly,
what?
oh yeah, like professionals are the same way. They have their own special language. Let's just say their own special thing happening. But honestly, and when you're in the moment, it's forgivable. You know, so
Yeah.
So just imagine a tapestry of things that you don't want your grandma to know you know.
Oh, yeah.
Pretty much is what happens.
Basically just me with my friends.
Yep. Lunchtime.
Yeah.
Lunchtime out there in the universe. Yeah. Something like that. Yeah.
Okay. Ooh. If you could switch roles with another teacher here at the school, who would it be and why?
Oh, that's a really good question. There are subjects that I love. I love English. I love history. My dad always wanted me to be a math teacher, and I I get so frustrated when people don't understand math that I'm really good with its practical mathematics, right?
Okay,
We're
yeah.
doing physics and geometry and tech as
Yeah.
opposed to, things that have no purpose, right? Mathematics that has no purpose. So, not a math teacher. I'm trying to think of a specific teacher I would switch with. I don't know. Probably like Mr. O'Hare, actually, and do chemistry and things like that because
Yeah.
I love showing the weirdness of that,
Yeah.
right? Like there's so many great chemical reactions that you can show people. Like, now look at this. This is so
Yeah.
cool. So maybe that. Also, I think Mr. O'Hare would have a fun time in tech.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and we could if we could switch for a day, that might be good times. Might be good times.
And then you get to set off the fire alarm for fun.
Yes, yeah. We're so careful here not to set off the fire
Yeah.
alarm. We had to like have the fire department come and shut down the system so we could even test the fog machines and things like that. So they didn't come out. Yes, I'm so incredibly careful, but yeah, but honestly, in chemistry, I'd probably set it off. Yeah, 100%, and not even blink. No, I would. Shh, don't tell them I said that.
All right. Ooh. What's your favorite The Show Must Go On moment?
Um. Oh my gosh, there's 25 of them. So
So
I'm trying to think really hard. What?
exact on the number.
Well, no, there's just a lot of them. There's just a lot. There was an actor who was playing Macbeth. Okay.
Okay.
And because of the show, all the actors in this whole show were female, except for like three characters. And the actor playing Macbeth was a male.
Okay.
Okay, it's about this townswomen's guild who puts on crazy productions, and they're all badly done, right? They just suck at them.
Yeah.
Anyway, so this actor said to me that their costume was scratchy. He was wearing the dress, and it had like spaghetti straps, and it was scratching. And I was just like, look, when you are bleeding, come back to me because you are just like I cannot. Like you're
Yeah.
being really extra right now about a scratchy little costume, right? So, and I was not having it because this actor had been pretty. They were a great actor, but they just got a little bit extra
Yeah.
when we got to shows, right? Anyway, so after that actual night, he came to me and he's like, look, and he did have like a little, like it was like a red welty thing
Oh my
happening, right?
gosh.
Okay, right? And I was like, okay, I'll take it home and fix it. I'm really sorry, but good job with the show. Now, that actor was also my son. So I was like maybe a little less kind than I would be to other actors.
There's a
but-
huge plot twist
right,
there.
a huge plot twist, yeah. And so I was, so he was like, thank you. And then nothing said, but then on the ride home, it was like, Mom, I can't believe you. And I was like, but you are a great actor. So there you go. Good job. Good job, you. Yeah.
All right. Well, we got two more fun questions, then I have the final question.
Okay.
All right. Dang. If you could make any ridiculous change to the theater, like adding a secret trap door, what would it be? Besides the speakers.
Speakers and the lighting.
Yeah.
We don't have a trap, which is a really good thing, but that would mean digging out from under the stage.
Yeah.
So, that's sad. But I do love a trap door. I love how you went right where my mind goes. I'm like, trap door, that'd be great.
Because then you could do scenes like having a lot of people come out of a tiny clown car.
Yes. And having said that, I did Barnum like many years ago, and we did build a box. Then we had everybody come out of this box. And it was, yeah. So it can be done. And the best part was I had these very tall people who managed to like do one of these and get out of the box and things like
Yeah.
that. It was great. But the entire cast entered out of this box. So that was good times. Let's see, what else? What would I add? Storage? No.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's so many things so
Bigger
many
workshop.
fun things. Yeah, like an actual scene shop, things like
Yeah.
that. Yeah. We could expand the building and add storage in a scene shop. That would be perfect. Yeah.
Okay. Favorite food and drink?
Coffee. I do love my coffee. Like I don't want to. I don't want to plug where I got that from. Coffee. There you go.
It's fine for 2 seconds of
It is
copyright.
5 or 2 seconds, right? Like, so it's okay, right? Favorite food. I love international cooking, so I'm pretty much
Okay.
game for anything. Obviously, I don't stop. No, I'm just kidding. No, I do. Um, so honestly, my go-to comfort food is potatoes. Anything that is like
Okay.
any cook it anyway. I'm good. A baked potato with stuff on it,
Yeah.
perfect. Baked potato plain, like just if you look in my office in my cabinet where I keep food, like emergency food for students and stuff, I also have emergency food for me, and they're like instant mashed potatoes bags because that's a
Okay.
comfort food for
At
me.
first, I was thinking like you had a whole bag of just raw potatoes.
Wouldn't that be great? I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, just bring in potatoes. No, I have like little like instant mashed potatoes. So, yeah, and honestly, yeah, that's it.
What's your favorite version of potatoes?
I do. That's again, you're asking me about my favorite child. Let's see. I do like fancy potatoes, so like twice baked potatoes or something like that.
Okay.
I do enjoy that, but I'll eat them anyway. Honestly,
Yeah. I end up putting anything in my mashed potatoes, or I put my mashed potatoes on something.
yeah, really.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Even though as a kid I hated having my food touching other food on the plate.
Yes.
I don't know why. It didn't change the flavor most of the time. It was just something I was like, no, that shouldn't be touching that. And then
Right?
later I realized, hey, if I put this corn in my mashed potatoes, that tastes amazing. And it gets me to
does.
eat the corn, which my mom liked.
Absolutely. Yeah. Right. Oh, yes. And so you're not a corn person?
But it doesn't have much flavor to it. It just tastes like water.
Sweet.
There's a
Corn is
little
so
bit of sweetness to
sweet.
it.
Oh, yeah. I love corn too. So that's a big thing. Yeah. I love potatoes, and I think so. Like you like shepherd's pie, where the potatoes are on the top.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So it's like it's like a pot pie, except it's an English version of that without a pastry, and it's the pot pie stuff with just mashed potatoes on the top, and then you bake it. It's so good.
That sounds amazing.
It is
Yeah.
really good. Yeah, it's kind of like an upside down thing with the gravy underneath, but it's brilliant. It's
Oh my
called
gosh.
shepherd's pie because it was made with lamb. But if you get it here in America, you don't get a lot of lamb here.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is sad because they're so sustainable and honestly,
Yeah. Okay. We got the
Yes.
final question.
I'm ready.
What does it mean to you to build a Bronco?
Oh, confidence in yourself, willing to take risks, someone who is ready to go out in the world and feel like it's theirs. They can take it. So, in the class we have the failure wall, and I encourage people just to try. So there's a bunch of quotes in there about failure. Like the more times you fail, the better the outcome will be.
Okay.
Because honestly, people learn better from failure than they do from success. If you're always successful,
You can't be successful without failure.
exactly, you cannot be successful without failure. When you fail, you go, oh, this is how I will do it better, right? Which is why, like when we're building and doing construction, I'll show you, this is what we need.
Yeah.
This is how you can do it. Go. And people are like, and I'm like, no, be confident. So when it's done, they look at it and they go, "Ah, we have a piano or we have a bus,
Yeah.
whatever. It works, right? And you feel good because you creatively problem solve that. So for a Bronco, those are the things that you need in a job. The number one thing that they say in a job application that you need is creative problem solving. Right. So I feel super lucky about that because we get to creatively problem solve all the time,
Yeah.
right? So that's, that. But honestly, an independent person who can go out in the world, be confident in themselves,
Yeah.
feel good about themselves, know that the past is what made you, but the future is yours,
Yeah.
right? So you can do whatever you need, use everything around you.
Yeah.
And I think that would be that's the Broncos, and that's what I see with the pride in being a Bronco. That's the best thing.
Okay. Well, I like that answer.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Uh,
It's true. I wasn't just doing that for this. It's true. There you go.
So this, I believe, is episode 6. I think so. Um, so that was episode 6, guys. Thank you, Griffey, for coming on.
I'm super honored to be here. I'm super honored you asked, Johnny. This is like wildly fun, and also, anyway, supporting
Yeah.
supporting all our Broncos, supporting everything, even if it's film. No, I'm kidding. No, thank you. I'm truly honored.
Okay. Well, thank you guys for watching. Let me know any other teachers you may want to see on, and I'll see you guys in the next episode. All right.
Thank you.